Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. We're in our fifth of 5 videos dealing with the concepts of the lessons taken from level 1C. We've talked about plurals in general, and we've seen some exceptions to the rules related to plurals. We're now moving in a slightly different direction, which is where we are dealing with the dual form. By dual meaning that we're dealing with two. Now, as we're getting into numbers, what's important to understand is that the numbers 1 and 2 are treated like adjectives. They're treated like tawabi'. By saying that, I mean that number 1, when you use the numbers 1 and 2, they're going to follow whatever you're counting. Okay? So I would say, for example, Baytun wahidun, Sayyaratun wahidatun. So the number 1 and the number 2, or if we use those numbers, are going to follow what we're counting as an adjective. Number 2, since they're adjectives, they're going to agree with the thing that we're describing in those same 4 areas. So they're going to agree in gender. Of course, they're going to agree in number because we're talking about 1. They're also going to agree in specificity, and they're also going to agree in grammatical positioning, okay? And you'll see some examples of that in the independent practice, but they really didn't give too much practice about that in the book, except in the conversation. Again, my copy's not all that hot, so if you have your Medina book, the traditional Medina book, then you'll want to turn to page 102 and you'll find these same lessons, okay? So what we're looking at is the dual form without the number ithnain. Just if we want to make something dual, all right? That's a little bit different than how we've made things plural. So when we made things plural, and more specifically preserved plurals, we used waw and noon, and we used ya and noon. And regardless of which one we used, at the end of it, it had a fatha. So you'd say muslimuna, you would say mu'minuna, you would say muslimina, you would say mujrimina. Okay, so you have the waw and the noon, the ya and the noon, and then the ending haraka is actually a fatha, because the change that we're making is not really there at the end. The change is really before the end, using the dhamma and the waw, or the kesra and the ya. The dual form is also the grammatical positioning is noted by letters. It's not really noted by diacritical marks necessarily. Okay? So the way that we know something is dual is if we use an aleph and a noon. And the aleph at the noon is going to end with a kesra. That kesra has nothing to do with the grammatical positioning. Where we understand the grammatical positioning is that aleph. So if it is the subject or the predicate, it's going to take an aleph. The book does not deal with if it's an ism majrur and those types of things, so we're not going to deal with it. I'm learning my lesson. If things are not a part of the lesson, then leave them alone. So we're going to leave those alone. So we're not dealing with if it's an ism majrur or if it's mudaf ilayhi, because that's not addressed in these lessons. It'll probably be addressed later on. We're just dealing with if the dual form is the subject or the predicate. Okay? So let's look at the examples that we have here in the book, because those will be easier for us to use. So it says, fi hadha al-hayy. Okay, now hay would have a kesra on it because it's a bedel for hadha. Fi hadha al-hayy, in this district or in this area, madrasatan. Madrasatani. Okay, so madrasatani means 2 schools. Okay, so madrasatun is 1 school or a school, but madrasatani means 2 schools. So notice number 1, that this aleph and the noon is what makes this dual, okay? And then notice that we're going to end it with a kesra, okay? We end it with a kesra because it's in the dual form. And actually, madrasatani is our subject, because fi is a harf al-jar, hadha is the ism majrur, and al-hay is the bedel for the ism majroor. So madrasatani is our subject. And again, remember, why does it come here? Because when we have a prepositional phrase, then usually the subject will come later if it's indefinite. Here we have Salatul Fajr. And of course, Fajr is going to take a dhamma, a fatha, or a kasra. It's going to take a kasra. Salatul Fajri rak'atani. Okay? So here, rak'atan is the predicate. The subject here is salah. So Salatul Fajr, the Fajr prayer is rak'atan. It's 2 rak'ahs. Okay? Rak'atani. Lil bayti miftahan. Okay? The house has, lil bayt, for the house, literally, but you could say the house has lil bayti miftahan, miftahani. Okay, so the house has 2 keys. So here the subject is it bayt or is it miftahan? It's miftahan because bayt has the harf al-jar in the front of it. Okay, so lil bayti miftahan. Liman hatan al-baqaratan. Okay, so now we see even the ism ishara, everything changes. So it says liman hatani al-baqaratani. Okay, so who do these 2 cows belong to? Liman, to whom are these 2 cows? If we want to literally translate it, to whom are these 2 cows? But we could say, whom do these 2 cows? To whom do these 2 cows belong? Liman hatani baqaratani. If it were masculine, we would say hadani. Okay, but because it's feminine, then we say hatani. Hatani al-baqaratani. So hatani is the subject, and baqaratani is the bedel, and liman is the predicate because it's harf al-jar. Huma lil-fallah. Huma lil-fallah. They belong to the farmer. So here our subject is huma. So we add the alif to show dual even for the damir. We don't need to say hunna. If you say huma, that counts for masculine and for feminine. Huma lil fallah. They belong to the farmer. Ahadani tabibani min Inglaterra. Are these 2 doctors from England? Okay, so here we saw hatani, and here we see hadani. Hadani at-tabibani. Okay, so these 2 doctors. Are these 2 doctors from England? Huma min Faransa. Okay, they're from France. And that's why I really haven't been using the book too much, because when are we going to be talking about Inglaterra and France and so on? They use it for the Medina books because they actually get students from these different areas, but for our purposes, we're not going to be using that language. So that's why, again, trying to go outside of simply the book. Fi qaryati, in my village, masjidani saghirani. In my village are 2 small masjids. So here we have saghirani is the adjective for masjidani. Okay? So, and masjidani is the subject because fi qaryati is harful jar ism majroor, and so masjidani is the subject. Because it's indefinite, no alif lam, because it's not particular, then that's why and the preposition comes in front of it, that's why it comes later. Also a part of our lesson is taking a new question word, which is kem. Kem, and kem means how much or how many. Now, when you use kem, what they want to show you is, number 1, the word that comes after kem should be singular, and it should take fathatan. So the word after kem is singular and takes fathatan. Kem ukhtan, kem qalaman, kem sayyaratan. Okay, so that's what they want you to know. So because we're going to be talking about numbers in coming lessons, then they just want to make that question word clear. So the word after kem takes 2 fathas, is singular, and it takes a fatha ending. Okay, so kem aban, kem baytan, kem qalaman, kem kitaban, kem madrasatan. How many schools, how many pens, how many kem kelban, how many dogs, and so on. So here in this last exercise, they basically, again, want to give you more practice changing the sentences to the dual form so that you get more comfortable with it. So it says هذا كتاب, هذان كتابان. هذا قلم, what would it become? هذان قلمان. Okay, so we keep qalam, we take off the tanween, the dhammatan, and we change it with an alif and a noon, and the noon is going to take a kasra. Don't forget that when it becomes feminine, we're not going to use hadani, we're going to use hatani. So hadihi mistara, hatani mistaratani. Okay, so just open that ta up, alif, noon with a kasra. Okay, we have more practice on the next page, which is page 103. Okay, so we'll do that together. Hada talib, that would become hadani talibani. Hadihi taliba, hatani talibatani. Hada rajulu mudarrisun. هذان الرجلان مدرسان. Yeah, هذان الرجلان مدرسان. هذا الطالب من الهند. هذان الطالبان من الهندان. No, it's not Hindani. I just wanted to see if you were going to get into cookie cutter mode. No, it's not two Indias. It's only one India. Okay? هذان الطالبان من الهند. من الهند. هذه الساعة من اليابان. من اليابان. Yeah? ومن اليابان. هاتان الساعتان من اليابان. Okay? هذه السيارة للمدير. So هاتان السيارتان للمدير. Okay, that harf al-jar there makes us take the ism majroor. Okay, so these two cars belong to the principal. Liman hadani al-miftahani. To whom do these two keys belong? Liman hadani al-miftahani. So now we know that miftah is a bedel because it has alif lam, and this is particular. So liman hadani al-miftahani. Liman hadhihi al-milaqa. Liman hatani al-milaqatani. To whom do these two spoons belong? Okay, it says ikra kalimat al-ati waktub ma'a dhabti awakhiriha. So here they just want to emphasize to you that it takes a kesra at the end. So here we have kalbani, here we have maktabani, here we have qamisani, here we have akhawani, here we have mindilani, here we have mistaratani, here we have ukhtani, and here we have imra'atani. It says change these words to the feminine form, thanni, not to the dual form, excuse me. So sayyara, sayyaratani, tabiba, tabibatani, waladun, waladani, lughatun, lughatani, sadiqun, sadiqani, tajirun, tajirani, milaqatun, milaqatani, milaqatani, mudarrisun, mudarrisani, babun, babani, ismun, ismani, hadha, hadani, hadhihi, hatani. Okay, so pretty simple lesson, not too complex. That's the spoon inside of my teacup making that noise. Gotta have tea this late up at night. But you're worth it. Don't worry, you're worth it. And inshallah, like I said, I hope the videos have been helpful. Type, what is your practice? We gotta connect you back to the sacred text. Keep you connected there. So what I'd like you to do simply, there's no translation involved here. Simply what I'd like you to do is just to recognize the dual forms in the various ayat that you see here, or the singular forms where we have a number. Okay, so it might be one, because I want to show you the concept of one being an adjective. So we'll do that one. We'll do a couple of them together. We'll do we'll do the one at the very top. We'll do one kind of in the middle, and then we'll do it the one at the very end, because I know that'll be complicated for you. Okay, so here it says وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Let me pause this for a moment. Okay, all I really did there in that pause, I changed it from the PDF to the Word document, so that way I could actually highlight it and you'll be able to see what I'm highlighting. So here it says, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Okay, so we're looking for the dual form, and the way we recognize the dual form, again, is with that aleph and that noon at the end. Now, please pay attention. Just because it has an aleph and a noon at the end does not mean it's dual. For example, Ar-Rahman. Even though you don't see it here, if you look in the Mus'haf, you'll see a small aleph written. Okay, so you have an aleph and a noon for Ar-Rahman, but that's not two Rahmas. Okay? Sometimes a word just ends with the and sound. So just make sure that just because it has an and sound doesn't mean that it's dual, but it can be dual, and you'll need to see if there's a singular of it in order to make sure. Okay, like we saw al-Yaban for Japan. It's not dual. It just has the aleph and the noon at the end. Okay, so it says, so for whomever fears standing in front of his Lord, or the standing in front of his Lord, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Okay, so jannatan is our dual form here. Okay, now just because we're doing this together, I'll add another question. What is our subject? Okay, our subject here is actually jannatan. Okay, so waliman, so for whomever, khafa, whomever fears standing in front of his Lord gets two jannahs. So basically, there are two jannahs for whoever fears standing in front of his Lord. This is also why I'm not giving you it as translation, because I think it's a little bit complicated, but don't worry about it. That's why I'm doing it with you. Okay, here that's pretty simple. Allah mentions in the in Surah Ar-Rahman, وَمِن دُونِهِمَا جَنَّتَانِ فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Other than the first two gardens that he mentions, there are two other gardens, and that they are mudhammatan. Adham means like black, so adham is like the black horse, a black stallion. So they're so dark and luscious and green that they almost look black. So that's what that means there, mudhammatan. Okay, so it's not really a sentence, and I guess it's the only word there. So of course it's going to be dual. So here it says, wa ilahukum ilahun wahidun la ilaha illa huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, don't really see any dual there, but what we want to focus on here is where one is acting as an adjective. So it says, wa ilahukum, and your God, or your Lord, your God, ilahun wahidun, is one God. Okay, your God is one God. So ilahun wahidun. So wahidun is an adjective for ilah in this sentence. Wa ilahukum ilahun wahidun, and your God is one God, la ilaha illahu, none is worthy of worship but him, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay. Here it also says, inna hadihi ummatukum, this community of yours, inna hadihi ummatukum ummatan wahidatan. Okay, so again, is one community. We're not going to discuss why it has two fathas as opposed to two dhammas. That's a conversation for another day. The idea is that it is a tabi' for ummah. So here ilah is masculine, and so wahid is masculine. Here ummah is feminine with the ta marbuta, so wahida is feminine with the ta marbuta. Last, we have the hadith of Aisha. It says, Wan Aisha, kanat Salama wa Habiba atata ard al-Habasha. Where's the dual here, or the number one here? Atata. So if it was a singular woman, the verb would be atet. Atet. But because it's dual, Salama and Habiba, then the verb becomes atata. And so that extra aleph at the end shows that that's dual. That was going to be a little bit difficult for you to get, so that's why I decided to give you some help with that. All right. So the rest of these in this sheet, inshallah, the dual form independent practice sheet, which I'll include, inshallah, with the email and with the video. I'd like you to try to complete this on your own. The only thing you're required to do, inshallah, in this video or in this worksheet is just to identify the dual forms as you see them in each of the ayat. Wherever you see them, there might be one, there might be more than one. Whatever you see, just go ahead and make sure that you underline it or highlight it or whatever. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.